Welcome to the Honeymoon Mindset Podcast. Even with kids, you can have a honeymoon mindset. We are your hosts,
Kimberly Mullen
and James Deppa. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Honeymoon Mindset with Kids. We are so grateful that you are here with us today. This week, we're going to continue on with the second part of our podcast from last week that we started with the discussion of getting your kids ready for Christmas. What does that mean? What does that look like? And why is it important to get your kids ready for Christmas? And what does that all mean? So let's continue our conversation that Kimberly and I are having on getting kids ready for Christmas.
Speaking of traditions, this elf on the shelf is really popular now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was around when your kids were little, or was it?
I think it was just starting to come out.
Just starting?
And it's started out, I think, as a cultural thing, because there was some culture that did something sort of like it. We also had, what was big was the Advent calendar, where you open each day.
Yeah.
That was good, and that was nice. We did that a couple times when my kids were younger.
Yeah, I could see that.
Elf on a Shelf, I think we did it 1 year, but it became a pain in the rear end to move it every time and have some story with it or whatever. It's like...
Yeah, I didn't really hear about it until my daughter was maybe a couple of years old, and I started seeing all my friends on Facebook doing it. Not all of them, but, seeing it and trying to figure out what it was all about. And I was like, I am not giving myself one more thing I have to do every night. Like, that's insane. And I personally, and I'm not having any judgment against people who do use the elf for this. It's just my personal belief that I'm not a fan. I never use Santa Claus as a bribe.
Right, no.
I don't sit there and say, oh, you better be nice. Don't be naughty. Santa's not going to come. He's watching you. That just seems kind of creepy to me, to be honest. But the elf's purpose is you're not allowed to touch it or it will lose its magic, and it reports back to Santa everything you do.
Yep.
And so I was like, nope, never, never, never. And then we went over to one of my friend's houses, and it wasn't even Christmas time, and she was playing with her elf on the shelf, and we were like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And her mom has a lot of the same beliefs as me, and she was like, oh, I don't believe in using it that way, but she did want an elf on the shelf, so I let her know, like, this is a doll. You can use it any way you want.
Right.
And so then my daughter did want one, and I said, well, I am fine with that. Now all my kids have their own elf on the shelf that they can use all year long, that they dress up, that they play games with as if it's any other kind of doll, and use their imaginations with them.
Yep.
And so we don't use it in a typical way. And sometimes that does like create a little... my kids have brought it to the playground, and then other kids are like, oh, Mom, she's touching her elf. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, sorry, Mom, I'm not doing that to my kids. So you're going to have to find a way to explain why she can touch her elf and your kids can't.
It's just a doll.
It's just a doll, and I've just never been a fan of the whole Santa's watching you and you have to be good. And
that goes back to where you're also trying to increase, I guess the back mindset of it is you're trying to help create a habit of them to be good during this particular time. Mm-hmm. But then kids get to know that, they're good. They're going to be extra good during this time of year or whatever. And it shouldn't matter. If they're good, we want our kids to be good year round. Christmas time and the holiday time is a time to stop and reflect. Be grateful for what we have. And I guess that's where I still to my kids. It's like, you need to stop and take a breath. Relax. And even this year, since 3 of my kids are married now, and it's like, okay, you guys got extended family now, in-laws to worry about. If you don't make it to Christmas this year, it's fine. I've been there. I've done that. It's hard. And it's okay. We understand. We're not going to be upset. But you're going to be so mad if we don't make it. It's like, no, we're not. Don't put the pressure on your kids to live a certain way, to be a certain way. Expect them to be them year round.
I agree. Absolutely.
There's a fisherman down in Miami, Florida, and he has a little boy that just turned 5. And every so often he'll post where they will actually go take eggs or maybe a meal during the day if he doesn't have a tour or a guided fishing guiding tour. And they'll take meals to the homeless that are underneath the bridge or whatever. And she says, there you go. How does that feel to give that to that guy? He'll say the kid's name. Oh, it feels good to help him. What do you think about that smile that you see? That's very touching. And, he's interacting with this kid while he's doing broadcasting it or whatever. Not so much as a means to brag or show, but we need to give back. And we need to teach our kids young on how to give back and how to look after others who are a lot less fortunate than we are.
Definitely.
And they'll show them where they're hauling in a big catch or whatever into the local food shelf to help feed the many that are less fortunate. And that's what the holidays are for. It's helped bring realness to those around us.
I totally agree.
And to take time and teach our kids. Look around those who are in your classroom. How can you help them without them not even knowing? Because you think about the whole idea of Santa is, Santa's coming, but you don't know when. And yeah, you expect something in the morning. What are you going to do to help somebody else without them knowing? What are you as kids going to help? Do we need to do something we've always done, or do we need to do a different tradition? And also, a lot of times we also talk to my kids about, don't look at the big things. What's some of the small little things you could use? Sometimes some of the basic little things get overlooked, and that's what we really need or want versus, of course we want the new whatever toy or electronic, but sometimes it's the small little things that make the bigger impact.
100%.
So
that's beautiful. Going back to the whole elf on the shelf thing, you were just reminded me of this with talking about the little things and making the biggest impact. I did see in a Facebook group yesterday that a woman was looking to use the elf on the shelf in a different way.
Oh, really?
To do random acts of kindness. The elf is going to leave a note for the kid every night with an idea of a different act of kindness the kid can do that day. Even something as small as taking sidewalk chalk and writing a inspirational quote for the neighborhood to see.
Yeah.
Or bringing cookies to the neighbor or stuff like that. She was looking for ideas, and I was like, no, that's a nice way to use the elf. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't use it to scare your kid.
Or threaten them. It's that whole idea of you'd better be good or threat. And here it's an empty promise anyways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, do you really know a kid who got coal in their stocking?
Yeah. Yeah, my kids joke. You'll just get coal in your stocking, Dad. Great. I need some coal. I can put it in my Barbie. I can warm the house.
Right?
Then they just look at me like, oh, Dad, that's supposed to be a bad thing. Well, you look. It may be a bad thing, but to somebody else, it's a good thing because it's heat to cook or heat to get warm.
Exactly. I love that reframe.
Yeah. The other thing that our kids, when we've done stuff with them, is when we leave the names off, especially when they're younger. Well, why aren't we going to sign it? It's a letter. We usually sign letters. No, we don't want to sign letters. Well, how are they going to know who it's from? We don't want to know who it's from. It becomes a learning... becomes a learning. I can't think of the word.
I want to say lesson, but I don't think that's what you're going for.
A learning opportunity or lesson, yes. And they get to learn that sometimes we will never get to know what impact we have on somebody's lives. Sometimes, or if they've gotten something with our name, it's like, how did that make you feel? Well, it felt made good. It made my day. Well, that's what we're trying to do. You don't know who left that toy or that present for you. All we know is it showed up on the door, and it's here. That's what we're doing.
How great is that? I love that. So, James, I'm curious, did you do Santa? And when your kids found out that Santa wasn't real if you did them, how did that affect, like, were they mad at you? Did they feel like you lied to them?
No, we never really. When my kids were younger, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Beth said too, they just, yeah, they still did it. They still brought, Santa still brought a couple presents, whatever. My kids did too. For a while there, we'd always open up our gifts Saturday or Christmas Eve, I should say. And then as
Mm-hmm.
they got older, they could open their presents from Santa Christmas Eve or ours, and then Christmas morning they did Santa presents.
Yeah.
We just let it take our course. Yeah, I think one or two may have gotten upset when they found out, ooh, Santa's not real. Then some of them sort of figured it out naturally. It's like, there's Santa there, there, there. Okay, Santa's not real. And they just go along with it because it's just, I don't even want to say it's culture, but more so society and
Yeah.
and the time of the year. It's that thing to do. So everybody does it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even still now, we still leave out the stocking we say is from Santa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's,
that's interesting.
I mean, it's just, they know it's from us. We just say it's
Right.
from Santa. They know it's from us. It's just tradition. It's just society. It's just something you did and it's, or you do because you've done it for so many years. And it's,
Right.
but
I
yeah.
remember when I found out Santa wasn't real. My sister, I'm the youngest of seven, and the next one up, she loved to ruin my my Christmases. She would open all my gifts and then rewrap them. And when she would get mad at me, she'd be like, because she knows, like, I love surprises.
Mm-hmm.
I am huge, huge, huge surprise fan. And I cannot stand when somebody's like, oh, I got you this for Christmas. It will be here in this many days. I'm like, well, joy.
Yeah.
Um, so she would open up all my gifts. And then if she got mad at me, she'd be like, Linda got you a backpack. Mom got you barrettes. Like, until I knew everything I had. And I'd sit there on Christmas morning opening gifts going, this sucks.
Yeah.
Even though they were things I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no joy, there was no surprise. She was the one who told me Santa wasn't real, and therefore neither was the Easter Bunny or Tooth Fairy or anybody else. And I remember how mad my mom got because I was the youngest, and she was like, she was my last one who believed. And I don't remember like being mad at my parents or feeling like they were liars. I think it was explained well enough to me that
Mm-hmm.
it's just what you do and it's a fun thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember like being mad about them. I do remember being upset my sister told me, and that like I felt like it did take away some of the joy. But I've tried to be real careful with my kids because we do Santa. Um, I'm really careful, and I never. If my daughter asked me straight out when she was younger, "Is Santa real?" I would never be like, "Oh yes." I would say, "Well, what do you think?" And she'd be like, "Well, I believe so." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, there you go then."
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't 100% like lying or anything. I never said yes, he's real. I said, what do you believe in? And so then as she got older and she started realizing that things weren't real, it was actually the Easter Bunny that she
Mm-hmm.
figured out first. And I had read this amazing article about Santa Claus and how to introduce that Santa isn't quote unquote real.
Mm-hmm.
And that mom had taken her kid out when she started being like, okay, I can tell he's catching on. Had taken him out on a special date, just the two of them. They went and got some hot cocoa or whatever. And she was like, you are ready to know what's going on. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you're ready to become a Santa. Santa is real. I'm Santa. You're Santa, because Santa is magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really loved that explanation of it because I do believe in the magic of Santa, even though I know Santa's not a guy sitting
Right.
at the North Pole. And so even though I didn't get the opportunity to do it quite that way, because my daughter had actually walked out and saw me and grandma filling Easter baskets, and she got very upset. And I went in, and by the end of our conversation, she was so excited that she graduated to being the Easter Bunny and being Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to now help out, like she gets to stay up after everybody falls asleep on Christmas Eve and come out and help wrap their gifts and have the hot cocoa with me and my husband, because that's our tradition is when we wrap the gifts, we have hot cocoa, and she's excited to be on that side of it now and to believe in the magic and know that she is the magic.
And I think that's the key right there, Kimberly. Christmas is about the magic of what we can do for others. In some way,
Mm-hmm.
shape, or form, yes, we're all Santa Claus. And that's probably why most of us still carry on the tradition
Yeah.
of being able to help and give and create a miracle in somebody else's life. Yes, sad, most of us only focus at Christmas time and not year round,
Right.
but still that increased awareness to help others and to keep that heart of miracles, even believing in us that there is miracles out there. There is things that happen to people for good. And that's the beauty of the holidays, and that's what you need to do with your kids to help get them ready for the holidays. Because we are all bombarded by the ads and the requests for more and more and more. Gotta have. The materialism isn't going to die anytime
Right.
soon.
Unfortunately.
And that's where we need to prepare our kids for Christmas and what Christmas really means and how to really enjoy the holidays. And when you do that, even as parents, then you know you don't have to worry about the latest gadget or toy. You can sit down and be relaxed and enjoy the moment with your kids and helping them become their own Santas in their own way
Yes.
by teaching them how to create a miracle for somebody else. And if you're tight on finances, there's still a lot you can do. Like
Definitely.
Kimberly said, the kids can make things for them. And kids get such a kick out of it.
They really do.
And sometimes we can learn from the kids and how to be a kid, how to give unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if the kids have friends that they don't care about, normally we would say, we ain't doing nothing. Yeah, but Christmas time you'll see those kids come up and say no, but they still deserve something. They still need something.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a dollar coloring book from the dollar store. That's going to speak volumes.
Absolutely.
So
I think it's all about the magic, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And start at the beginning of the season, after Thanksgiving or even before, talking to your kids about what Christmas is. Because before you know it, how quickly these last 3 weeks go.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be here by the time you wake up in the morning.
Sure feels that way.
And I guess that's where I thought of the topic, getting your kids ready for Christmas, because it is the beginning of the holiday season. It's the beginning of the festivities and everything, and how quickly we can get taken in and lost in the society's norms or the society's status of what Christmas is about. It's giving, yes, but it's giving from the heart.
Yes.
Giving not with the intention of taking what you can or what you can get and how expensive. The one thing that I didn't like for a longest time, Kimberly,
Mm-hmm.
those families that always went on trips. I never got that
How come?
until about a year or so ago, when all of
Look.
my kids are older and we're trying to get everything right. It's like, now I can see why these families go somewhere for Christmas, and that's their Christmas present, is this trip wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said it earlier with your skiing from Mount Hood, it just didn't click until now. Is it's the experience of being with them. It's that bond. It's that
Yes.
intentional effort to be together during this special time of year. It's not about the presents. It's not about the money. We've both have said that how many times now in this show.
Right.
It's about the relationships and building those relationships even stronger and making those connections that we may have lost or let slip through our hands. That's the most important thing about the holidays. And that's why now I understand why some of these families went away for the holidays, to get away from it so they could be together.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's what Matt and I always said when we have kids, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to be buying them the latest electronics gaming system. We're going to take them on trips and have
Mm-hmm.
experiences together. And then our finances weren't what we had hoped they would be, so we didn't get to always do that. And
Right.
then we ended up traveling full time. So then we were always traveling and having experiences. So it didn't always look that way. This is really the first year where we're like, okay, your gift is an experience, but it's something now we can go every weekend together if we want and do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something they'll always look back on.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep. So I don't have too much else to say about this topic, Kimberly. I don't know if you want to wrap it up for us and send us home.
All right. I do feel pretty complete. I think we covered so much. For me, the holiday season is definitely a time to teach your kids. It, like you said, it's a learning opportunity to teach them that it's about giving, not about getting. That it's not about the latest and greatest, keeping up with the Joneses. It's not about how much money you spend, the materialism. It's about being together and helping others where you can. And that's where the magic is
Mm-hmm.
in being the Santa Claus, being the giver, watching other people's faces light up. And I think that's the best thing we can teach our kids.
And start earlier during the holiday season
Mm-hmm.
and repeat it and repeat it. And then I want to throw out a challenge to our listeners.
Ooh.
What are some ways that you can continue it throughout the year? I want to hear
Yes.
the comments. I want to hear the input from our listeners. How can you continue giving and caring for others less fortunate, or sometimes even those more fortunate than us?
Mm.
Because sometimes they get so caught up in what they have that they don't need anything, but sometimes they need a random act of kindness, bring to bring them back down, their humility back down to a normal level, if that makes any sense.
I actually really love that because I do know people who have everything they could ever want materialistically, but they're not truly happy because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have that connection, the human connection as well.
Yep. So that's what I want to hear from the listeners. Challenge them. Reach out to us and
I would
tell
love to
us
hear some ideas.
what's something you can start this holiday season, or you have been, a tradition that you do. Just like I'm just thinking for Beth and I, we like to make Christmas cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about what can we do throughout the year? What's something that you can do in January, February when cabin fever kicks in big
Right.
time and depression usually goes skyrocketing because there's nothing to do during that time of year. And it's so slow and everybody's so consumed in going back to work and paying off debt and stuff. What can you do during that time or throughout the whole year? I really want to see what you guys come up with. I'm very, very excited to hear.
Me too. I love this challenge.
Mm-hmm. And I just told you one thing Beth and I, we can do baking because we like to bake and gives us a reason to bake. We
Mm-hmm.
can do other stuff throughout the year to help cheer people.
Yeah, baking is good all year long. You can
Mm-hmm.
drop a cake at my house anytime. Doesn't have to be Christmas. I'd be very happy.
So would your kids too.
Oh yeah, they would.
And depending on
That's
what
awesome.
time I drop it off, Matt may not get any.
He might not. That's not a lie. I told you about Christmas Under the Bridge. That really opened up my oldest daughter. She has such a heart for the homeless now.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we're not 100% great at having them in stock all the time, but we do try and keep blessing bags in the car all year long for when we
Mhm.
randomly run into somebody who's homeless that has like socks or, depending on the time of year, might have gloves or
Right.
snack, a juice box, something.
Yeah, one thing Beth and I started last year. We've been doing it for about a year now. Not as good as we want to, but because it's our first year doing it. We actually picked this up idea from one of the MCs for Tony Robbins, and he's from Australia. He says, yeah, one goal you should have set for yourself financially is having wham money. Like, okay, what the heck is wham money? What's wham? And he's like, well, I call it wham because A, I'm from down under. And
Okay.
when people want to go do something, they just get lost. They go on a walkabout. And they go on a walkabout. They're just walking around thinking or whatever. And then you carry money with you. So if you ever feel the need or the urge to help somebody or do something nice, you have the money there. So he calls it walk around money.
Oh, I like that.
So you just take whatever. If you keep 10, 20 bucks, and then if you see somebody, you use that money to help whoever. And the idea is each year you try to increase that you can financially. And so whenever you feel needed or urged, you do that. And that's one thing that Beth and I have done. You know, we'll be sitting eating meal. We'll pay for somebody's meal or whatever, or a family's meal. Or one of my coworkers was retiring. We paid a little bunch extra to the waitress. She was an amazing waitress, but also, okay, cover our bill. You take whatever for your tip, and then whatever's left, you put towards whoever's left.
Right.
We don't expect anything in return because we did that and then we left. Nobody knows it was us. Nobody knows anything. That's not the point. It's just the feeling, you know what? Hopefully I just helped somebody, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if they liked it or not. They loved it. Sometimes we get to see the tears on their face because we know it touched them.
Aww.
And all we need is, if they need it, it'll touch their heart. And if not, hopefully it still touches their heart because somebody was there to help.
Right.
So
that's beautiful. So there's 3 ideas right there already. Baking, blessing bags, carry money with you to help out when you can. Can't wait to hear what else everyone else comes up with.
I can't either. I'm excited.
Me too.
So excited.
Thank you for this topic. It's a fun one. I love the holidays. I do my best to keep them simple and not let them stress me out so I can enjoy them.
And thank you, everybody else. And thank you, Kimberly, for that great summary. I agreed with everything you said.
Thank you.
So as we go here, talk to your kids now. Don't stress about that. Think of the little things. And bring your kids on board on what Christmas and the holidays are really, really about. Then you don't need to stress. It doesn't need to be a worry. Then you can really, truly enjoy the holidays with your kids. And they get to learn the lesson of what really it means to give versus to get. Thank you for listening to this episode of Honeymoon Mindset, and we'll catch you next time with Honeymoon Mindset with Kids.